Is there a missing piece in your life? Let me ask you another question. Has anyone ever said, "Is it well with your soul?" I have a funny story about my great-grandmother. My mother told me that when she was a little girl, she was so embarrassed by her grandmother because she would talk to everyone about their soul. She would say to the milkman who'd come to the door with the glass jugs of milk like in the old days, and she'd say, "Is it well with your soul?" She would say it to the postman. She'd say it to everyone. My mother was so embarrassed. But there was something else about my great-grandmother. She used to get on her knees at night and pray that God would bless her with a legacy that cared about their soul. I am her legacy. When I was just a young girl, I used to ask myself, who am I? Where did I come from? And where am I going? Have you ever asked yourself those questions? I'm guessing you have. I grew as a child with those questions in my mind and seeking answers. I found my answers, and I began to understand how vitally important the soul is. The soul is the powerhouse of the body. And there's more. The soul was born from love, it's transformed by love, and it returns to love. But here's the problem. There's so many distractions and challenges, and by the way, there are forces, both human and otherwise, that threaten to steal, kill, and destroy our souls. I know deeply what that's all about. You see, there was a time in my life when a skeleton fell out of our family closet. I had to step in. There was someone in my family who was abusing another family member. There was a little girl that needed to be saved. Her soul and her life were in danger. I'm so glad I did. I would do it over in a minute. She's a beautiful, thriving member of society, and I love her dearly. But I'll be honest with you, there were severe consequences from what I did. But here's the truth. If the soul is not well, there is no long-term success. You can have a great business, and I hope you do. You can have a beautiful family, and I hope you do. You can have all the things, but without a healthy soul, you will burn out, or you will implode, or stress will riddle your body with disease. I have seen it all for many, many years in many lives. And that's why it's my business to help you to invest in the health and strengthening of your soul. I am the spiritual director for the Zig Ziglar International Community. Mr. Ziglar was a great man, and he was also a man of faith. And so I get to go on his audience and help them to nourish their souls so they can live more whole. But people will say to me, "Janie, I didn't even know I had a soul. And how do I connect to it? And by the way, how do I make it vibrant and alive?" That's why I want to answer a few questions. First, what is the soul? Second, what are the symptoms that I might need some soul care? And third, how do I have a vibrant and alive soul? So let's get started. What is the soul? Simplest definition is the soul is everything that makes us human. It separates us from the animals. We, because we have a soul, can choose. We can create. We can love. We can think. And we can worship. We are image bearers. God planted eternity in our souls. Think of the soul as an umbrella term. It includes our mind, our emotions, and our will. But it's something else. Our soul contains our spiritual life. And guess what? The spiritual life is the power of the soul. So let's think about this for a minute. If you don't have a vibrant spiritual life, then it's sort of like not having any gas in your tank, or you've got holes in your boat, or you're out of breath all the time. There's a missing piece. It's the juicy part of being human, our soul. I think my great-grandmother was onto something, don't you? Jesus of Nazareth would agree. He said, "What does it profit a man or a woman if they gain the whole world and lose their own soul?" I want you to think about what I said. Let's go back for a minute. I said the soul powers the body, but I also said that the spiritual life powers the soul. So there's something broken if we don't have a spiritual life that powers the soul, that powers the body, right? So again, you can have all the things, but without a vibrant and alive spiritual life, you won't have sustaining power. So what are the symptoms that you have a little bit or a lot of soul loss? How about apathy, listlessness? I want you to think about these things with me as I go through them. Apathy, listlessness, no joy, no initiative or very little. You feel empty. Everything feels pointless. But what about fear? Fear cripples so many people. And fear blocks love, by the way. Does that resonate with you? But there's one more thing I must bring up, and that is anxiety and depression. Are you aware that 1 out of 8 of you listening to me right now struggles with anxiety or depression or both at the same time? Are you aware that 3 out of the 10 females listening to me right now have experienced the horror of sexual abuse? There are so many challenges, so many things that break us. And I want to tell you about Kathy. Kathy was an Airbnb guest. She was a successful real estate agent. She was at a conference, but one day she came and sat down in my garden. I was there. She looked up at me and said very quietly, "Can I talk to you?" I said, "Of course." As she began to tell her story, I discovered that this successful woman was so broken inside from personal trauma that she had endured. She pulled herself up by the bootstraps. She made a life for herself and her son, but inside she was broken, anxious, depressed, and so lost. But here's what is so amazing. That day, she began her soul care journey. And today, she is co-director with me at the Women's Center for Soul Care, where we have it as our business to help you be successful in every aspect of your life. I once told Kathy she was the saddest person I ever saw, and I meant it. It's not really funny, but you laugh about these things in hindsight. But what about you? What about you? Do you struggle with anxiety, depression? Do you feel lost? Do you feel broken inside? How do you go from a dry well to an overflowing stream? How do you make a vibrant spiritual life when you don't know how? I want to start with the simplest steps. Let's just start at the basics. I want to encourage you to get real. I want to encourage you to get quiet. I want to encourage you to listen. Get real, indeed. I told you about my family. What I didn't share is that one of the most horrific consequences of saving that child is that my parents cut me out of their lives. Both of my parents died without naming me as their child. It was unthinkable. I was broken I was so broken, and I had to get real with God and with myself. And I would show up, and I would get quiet. Early in the morning, I would show up, but trust me, there were no words. There were no prayers. I just showed up. And then one day, everything changed. I had words fall down from above. I grabbed my journal and my pen, and I literally started writing as fast as I could every single word that I heard. I can't explain to you. It was miraculous, honestly. When it finished, when the stream stopped, there were 5 stanzas of a poem that I later called Raising a Cathedral. Friends, I love you. And I just hope and pray that maybe something I have said here today will be like words falling from above to you, and that you will be able to tap in to your soul so that you can say one day, "It is well with my soul." Thank you.